Hello everyone, welcome to my 360 panoramic painting tutorial in Photoshop. So you do need I think you need Photoshop CC 2015 and above, I believe, to do this. So first things first, I do recommend you go in here and save your workplace or workspace up top right, and just go new workspace and then title it whatever, like custom 2017, and maybe the year or the month as well. And then do keyboard shortcuts, menus, toolbars. I do everything. So there we go. So we have that saved, because when you jump into the 3D mode, it tends to mess that up. So now we're going to create our canvas that this will be on. So we're going to create a new canvas. Just hit Control N and it brings up our new canvas. And you want to make this twice as wide as it is tall. So for mine, I just have it 4,000 by 2,000. And we're just going to hit create. So this is what you'll be drawing on, but first we need to make it a 360 panoramic. But just to kind of give a sense of where things are, let's just draw a line here, and we'll draw a house on this. And it's going to look weird once it's into a panoramic, but I just want to give you kind of a sense of where things are. Fence, maybe a sign. Okay. Now we have that, and then just do it right down the center. This will just give you a good idea of what's happening. So we're going to go up to 3D and say new mesh from layer, mesh preset, and then spherical panorama. And it's going to take that image and it's going to twist it into this 3D sphere. And see, I can look around, and I put those objects there just to kind of give an idea of where things are. So here you've got that house. Here you got those fences and stuff, but see how they're kind of warped looking? That's because this is being curved onto a sphere. But now that we're actually in here, we can draw right on that sphere. So you notice I could kind of correct that stuff, and it can just. So yeah, to start with here, I'm just hitting V to jump to navigation, V as in Victor, and then I'm hitting B to draw onto the canvas. And you can erase, but notice how it erases everything. I'll show you how to take care of that in a minute. And you can undo still. So I can undo all those things. I hit V. Say you wanted to twist the image, you'll notice up here you have your different navigation modes. You could click the second one, and now you can spiral the image. When you're in this mode, don't use any of these other ones. I highly recommend just staying away from those. It's really going to mess up your view. These first two are good ones to use. The shortcut to kind of jump between these different ones here is if you hit Shift plus V. And see how I can cycle through those separately? So I'll use that. I'll just jump if I need to spin or something like that. I usually stay within here. Sometimes navigation might kind of feel twisted and stuff. You can navigate from outside of your document as well. But once you're in the drawing mode, you can't navigate. It almost acts like a 2D image. You can just draw on here like that, and just draw whatever you need to, and then spin and draw some more. You will notice though that when I'm drawing, the brush size isn't accurate to what was being input onto the canvas. So to fix that, we're going to go up to 3D again. And we'll go down to paint system, and right now it's set to texture, so it's just applying it directly to that texture, but we want to have it projection, so it projects onto that texture instead. Now when I brush a line, it's the actual size that I'm drawing. So you can see if I have a big brush, it'll be bigger and smaller, so that's a little more accurate, a little easier to tell what's going on and have more ideas of what's going to happen. So now that we have that, let's see how to get a grid in here. And this is where this tutorial kind of goes over a little bit of what Jama had done, and his tutorial is on ArtStation. If you go to ArtStation and then click on Magazine, and I've already pulled that up over here. And I highly recommend watching his tutorial on ArtStation. It's really fantastic. There's only a few things that it didn't cover that I really wanted to cover, so I just thought I'd do a broad overview plus those additional details. So we're going to scroll down here, and we want to grab this image right here. So you can just copy it or right click and go to save as. And in my situation, I'm just going to copy it. And once we have this, we're going to close this out or move it out of the screen. And we're going to close this old panoramic. We're going to make a new one now. So I'm going to close this. And since I have that copied into the clipboard, the new canvas will be the same size as that grid. So we're going to hit new canvas. And sometimes it doesn't pop up. New canvas. It's popping up on my other screen. So it came up as 1024 by 512. Let's actually see if when we pull this image back up, let's click on it instead and then copy when it's a little bit larger like that, see if that changes that at all. Or hit new again. And since I clicked on it, it made it bigger. Now it's 4000 by 2000. So you want to click on the image before you copy it. So now we're just going to hit Control V and paste it into the scene. And I'll include links to all these things, to his tutorial, as well as this grid. And once we have that pasted in, we're going to hit Enter. Should do it, or just hit the V, or click on something else. So there, now we have the image in there. Make sure it's highlighted. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to go up to 3D and new mesh from layer, mesh preset, and spherical panoramic. And it's going to take that, and now it put that into the grid. And this is way easier to draw on. It added that grid. And this is, it's very hard to work without this. And I can't thank him enough for creating this grid. I don't know, I assume he created it, but yeah, it's really good. So now that we have that, before we draw anything on here, let's talk a little bit about layering. That's something that wasn't gone over in the tutorial, and I just wanted to make sure that people knew about that, because I didn't know about when I did my first painting. I did everything on one single layer. So to avoid that, let's just go ahead and learn how to do this. Okay, so, and remember how I had you save your custom settings? Because notice how I am missing part of my bar here. So we're going to go over here, and we're going to click up in here, and we're select, where is it? Custom, I saved it, Custom 2017. So now I've got my saved bars over here. So we're gonna go over there, and we're gonna click on the right under here under 3D. And some of these things might be placed in a different location for you, but and some of these things might be saved in a different location for you, like when you start a new document, or since you haven't used the 3D settings. If you do need to find some of these settings that you're not seeing over here, you can find them under the Windows tab. So I've got 3D pulled up here, and I also have Properties pulled up. If you don't have those there, you can get to them by just adding them, or sometimes if you just, as long as you have the 3D one, you can go down here and Properties, you can have that by double clicking on like this image right here. But basically what we want to do is we want to pull up that original texture that we made. So we're going to go on here, and you're going to click on, go down this list in the 3D settings, and see where it says spherical panorama material. You want to double click that, or if you already have it, the properties up, it'll just display the properties right here. And we want to click where it says diffuse, and we want to click the little tab and hit edit texture. So this is what it's doing. It's taking the image, and it's basically just wrapping it onto a sphere in this view in my other scene. So we can go over here and open this up. So what I wanted to cover mainly was that you can have multiple layers in this view, and it translates to this view, to your 360. So let me show you how that works. Let's go to the edit texture that we had opened up. We're gonna go in there, and let's make a new layer, and I want to do just like let's see, yeah, go here, and we're just gonna do a whole fill layer or something. We'll just grab a new layer, go to brush, get like a really simple brush, and just fill in the background. It's a little bit slow in this view, but It's actually quite slow. I think I just have the image too large. So I'll fill that up really quick. And once we have that full, let's drag it behind the other layer. And let's set this grid layer to just like a multiply. So now it's seeing through that layer. And if we click over here, it's actually updated automatically. So you can see that gray background is showing up. So now the beauty of this is you could have this layer, you could lock your grid layer so you don't accidentally mess it up or something like that. Maybe turn the opacity down a little bit so the grid's really faint, and then lock that. And let's lock this background layer for now too. And we're gonna make another layer on top of this one. And now we have another layer. We'll name this one like draw. And now we go over to our 3D view, and that's already updated. But you'll notice you don't see the layers here in the bottom right. It's because in the 3D view, it just acts like there's one layer. So now let's select a new color and just draw in here. And you notice the lines are there. And you're thinking it like drew over everything possibly, but it didn't. If you go over to your 3D view, it's just showing up right on here. And another thing you'll notice is, where was it? My settings automatically, remember those settings I had changed for drawing on this? See how it's drawing the wrong size again? You'll have to go back, and it seems like it does this every time. You'll have to go to Paint System, turn on Projection if you really want to get that projection line back on. And another thing you can do is you can go in here and you can edit these things in this layer and just get rid of them if it's a little cleaner for you, and jump back to here, and it'll be updated automatically. So now that you have that, there's another thing that Jama went over that I also want to touch on, just to kind of have this full-fledged tutorial. And that's when you're drawing lines on here, you'll see it it's a little bit sluggish and it's not very crisp looking. So what you can do is make a new layer, and you can't move the view while you're in this layer. So say we draw a cube, a very poorly drawn cube. So I draw this cube here. I'm just kind of drawing through the whole shape. I guess I wouldn't even see the rest of it. But anyways, you draw that cube, and then if you move, you go to your canvas layer and try moving, that cube's gonna stick with your view. Because you have to, when you're on this new layer, it's not a 3D layer, it's a 2D layer on top of the 3D layer. Okay, so the way to solve that is we're gonna delete that layer really quick. We'll spin over here, and you can do the same thing, make a new layer. And you notice it is a lot crisper, it looks a lot nicer when you're working on this layer. And let's draw another cube, or like a rectangle of sorts. And now that we're on that layer, so what you do is you merge this layer down. So you hit Control E, and it'll merge it into there. And it still looks a little not so crisp, but it's a lot easier to draw in that mode because you don't have that delay as well. And you'd go jump over here, and there's your cube, and you can erase anything else that's in there and jump back over it. And you'll notice when you're merging it down, it's merging it into that layer you have selected here. So say I wanted to color that cube, there's a few ways I could do that. I could make a new layer, and I could actually just go in here and select it in this kind of wonkier view, if you're a little more used to that perhaps, and you could add some colors to that. These are really bad colors. Let's do like give it a little bit of lighting, a little bit of shape. So you can paint it in here and then go back to this view, and it should update. Sometimes you might have to save, hit Control S, or maybe it got desynced. That does also happen. Let's save this view just to make sure here, and let's just do desktop. Let's call it test. Let's save that again. I think I know what happened here, and it's actually good that this messed up because you might run into this problem too. Let's close that window. I think because I created a new layer while I was working on it, it might have messed it up. So remember to get back to there again, we're going to go to Spherical Panorama Material. You either double click that if your Properties panel isn't showing up, or click once if you have it right there. Go to your diffuse layer right here and edit texture. I think it's because I created a new layer. Let's see if we can replicate that. Do the same thing. Sometimes it'll desync the texture between the 3D view. So let's fill that out. Let's fill it in. We'll do light and dark. There we go. Okay, see now it resynced. So that will happen once in a while where it desyncs. And that's the best way to get kind of fix it from there, is to just go in and close out the texture layer. Make sure it's the texture layer. And you'll notice the texture layer is .psb. And the actual layer you're working on is PSD. So if we go in here, and you can do edits between them. I try to work mainly in the actual 3D view, but sometimes it's a little easier just to jump into the flat view. And there we go, the canvas is a little tilted, so if that happens, you can just go to that second view and then fix it. It does seem to work a little better if you kind of look from the top here. There's another thing you can do too, and that's if you go over onto your 3D tab again and go to current view. And if you double click that, or maybe it's scene, where is it? Oh yeah, it's current view. If you click on current view and it doesn't show up, you'll see there's these, under properties, there's actually 2 tabs, and you can adjust the field of view. So maybe go down to maybe 15, and then go over to this. And now you get a little bit broader of a view of the image. And this might actually be closer to what it shows up on ArtStation when you post your image. And so now you have your view. You can save this as a PSD layer, but if you want to save this out and post it on ArtStation or something, you can, I'm going to go to this just to close it, just to make sure it's synced up and everything. Go to Material, and this is how you'd save it. You go to Diffuse, Edit Texture, and it pulls up this texture, and you just want to save this as a JPEG. So go down, select JPEG, and we'll call it Panoramic, or just Pano, and save it at 10 or 12. And then once we have that done, we're going to go to ArtStation. And at ArtStation, we're going to go Upload. And under Upload, you'll notice there's a new thing added here called Add 360 Pano. So you're going to do that, and you can either find your image or just drag and drop it on there. And drag it and drop it in. And once that uploads, all you have to do is, you can upload your work, publish it, but make sure you give it a title at least, because before you publish it, you can actually preview it. If you give the image a title, hit save, and once that saves, you can do preview in community. And then here's our panoramic right here. And you'll notice it's a little closer to the pulled out the it's a little closer to the what am I trying to say? Where is it? So if we go over here, the view that you get by default in ArtStation is a little closer to the FOV of about 15. So if you jump back over here and look at the view, and then jump back over here, see how it's pretty close to that. So if you're working at FOV 15, that's going to be a little more accurate of representation for the default view in ArtStation. But you can zoom in on here, so it is going to change a little bit. But that's just good to note, because if you're drawing something, you get in there and you want to make sure the view is going to be kind of similar when you get into ArtStation, that'll be a good way to do that. So once again, just to go over these layers that I really wanted to touch on here, is when you're on here, it's just one layer, and this is your 3D view. You can navigate with V and Shift V to kind of cycle through these, but make sure you don't do these, because if you do that, you're going to actually move outside of this circle. So once you're in here, you can go over to your layers or do your edit texture that I showed you and go into these, and then you can add new layers and then go back into here, and on here you can draw on those new layers. So this is really great if you want to do your line drawing or a rough drawing and then just draw over that. And also remember, you can make a new layer and it'll draw a little faster. It'll draw nice and smooth in here if you make a new layer on top of the 3D view. But once again, remember, you can't move in 360 on this. It's gonna lose its place. If you accidentally do that, you can realign it really quick and just go back to this view. We have to merge it down. But yeah, that's about all I really want to touch on. It's a really fantastic thing to play around with. It has, you can create some fantastic scenes like I'm working on. I can show you one that I'm working on right now. And it is, where is it? Oh, that's not it. Open recent. 360 ruins. This is one I was sketching up last night. Just to kind of give you a preview of what it is. We've got like these, we're like at the door frame of this ancient ruins, and you can look inside. Here's the interior. You can spin the view, line up a little bit better. So we got this huge internal structure here. And turn around. We got the outdoors and everything like that, a little path running off. And once again, just to, if you want to see this in like its unwrapped state, go to 3D settings, spherical panorama material, diffuse, edit texture. And that's what it looks like all unwrapped. It's very strange looking. But you notice I do have the separate layers here. But yeah, that's all I wanted to show you. And let me know if you have any questions or if you want to see anything else. You can paint directly on there with all your brushes and everything. And yeah, thanks a lot for stopping by. If you like the video, like it and comment and such, and look forward to talking to you all in the future. Take care. Bye.